School today. We are welcoming our guests, Brian and Susan Shortmeyer, Kingdom Workers with Ethnos 360, formerly New Tribes Missions. We supported the Shortmeyers for about 20 years, I think, and out of their 26 ministry years, is that the right number?
Well, 26 in Papua New Guinea.
Okay, wow.
And then another 15 here.
Okay, wow. So 26 while they were in Papua New Guinea, and then another 15 in various leadership and administrative roles in the U.S. So we've gotten to support them for part of that, and we continue to support them. Most recently, Brian has served as the executive director of the Homes of Ethnos 360, the residential community for retired missionaries in Sanford, Florida. Brian is going to give us an update on the Ethnos 360 ministry during our Sunday school hour today. And so we thank you, Brian, and please come and take it away.
Good morning. Okay. As Pastor said, we've been around for a while. I'm from Central Jersey. I grew up in Warren, and I'm too loud. Just in case here. Let me take this out. I don't want, it's bad. It's horrible if the preacher's phone even rings. All right. Okay. Well, I grew up in Warren, and then I was attending a church in Piscataway, went into training with what was then called New Tribes Mission, and that's where I met Susan. She's from southern New Jersey, outside of Philly, and we met in Pennsylvania in the training with New Tribes Mission, and while there, we started dating, got engaged, got married, and what we were thinking was there going to be a last semester in the training at the place where we were at, thinking we're going to get ready to go on to language school. We found out both Susan was pregnant, and that then we got a letter from the field of Papua New Guinea saying, man, with your background, with your college degrees, with your background in math and science, Susan's in business admin and secretarial skills, we'd love to have you at the school for missionaries' children. It's like, okay, it's not what we were thinking, but we said, well, is that how we can best serve the team to get the work done? I said, yes, that's where we need you the most. So we agreed to do that. Our daughter Heather was born in Overlook Hospital up in Summit, and 6 weeks later, we took off to fly to Papua New Guinea. And that was in 1984. We went to the school, and I was teaching in high school math and science. And then 2 years later, because of someone needing to leave because of a medical condition, all of a sudden I was the high school principal. It's like, oh, okay. But I love teaching, and the role as principal just seemed to be a great fit. They asked me to do that permanently. So on our first furlough, I came back, decided I needed to work on my master's in educational administration. And I said, well, if I'm going to be an educational leader, I should have some credentials that justify that. So got that. And I served there until about 2000 in that capacity. I was also helping with regional leadership at the time. Yeah, Papua New Guinea is the largest field that New Tribes Mission works in terms of the number of people, the number of tribes and all that. But it's also a very, very rugged country. It's difficult to get around. A lot of mountains in up there in the highlands, which is where we were at, but also down in the lowlands, swamps, rivers, and all that. In fact, the capital, Port Moresby, on the southern coast, well, it was put there by Australia, who administered the country, but you can't get to it from any place else. You want to get to the capital, you have to fly or take a boat around the country. Right? There's a few towns on the northern coast that you can reach, and one road that goes from the northern coast snaking through up into the highlands, which is where we were at. Well, because of the geography of the country, it's been divided into regions, at least for our missionary work. And I was helping with the administration for the region that I was in, up in the highlands. Okay. And well, about 2000, they said, when you come back from furlough, we really appreciate what you've done in the school. We'd like you now to take that administrative and apply it to the field. So like, okay, so in 2000, when I came back, I became the field administrator for New Transmission, Papua New Guinea. Did that for 10 years, and we felt that the Lord was leading us back this way. We gave about, a little unusual, we gave 3 years notice. And because my intent was, I really don't want to leave until there's someone that we've trained to replace us. So I was looking for my replacement, Susan as well. Actually, it was a little easier to find hers than mine. All right. So we came back here at the end. We left there in December 2010. Got back here and moved back to New Jersey. And then in March 2011, we went down to Sanford, Florida. And I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing there. I had some ideas. And I got down there and said, well, we didn't want to scare you and tell you this, but we want you on the U.S. Executive Committee. It's like, oh, okay. So then I became the Chief Administrative Officer for New Transmission USA. Now, back in 2006, what had been New Transmission overseeing everything happening throughout the world with the missionaries, in 2006, the organization decided to decentralize. Okay? And so the USA was no longer in leadership over Canada and Australia and the UK and Brazil and Indonesia and on and on and on. So each of them became their own separate entity, but obviously working together, cooperating together. We have a global ministries agreement. You can say kind of like a constitution, something like that. It's like, okay, this is what we believe. This is our doctrine. These are our goals. These are our training methods. This is how we're going to interact and function together. So we're all on the same page. So whether our missionaries get trained in the UK or in the US or in Germany or some other place, they might be able to work together as a team wherever they go. And that's not uncommon for us to find teams with, oh, we've got one American and one German and one from New Zealand, you know, working together. And in some of our countries, particularly in Brazil, majority of the missionaries there are no longer Americans at all, and they actually very few Europeans. Majority of our missionaries there now are Brazilians who've gone through all the training and now are seeking to reach the tribes in their own country, which is great. That's what we've wanted, you know, all along. So in any event, came back here 2011, joined the U.S. Executive Committee, and that was a great job. I enjoyed it. But about 2020, you know what happened. COVID hit. And the man who had been the director of our retirement center, he had been struggling with major headaches, debilitating headaches after a car accident he had for decades. And doctors could never find out why. And he'd even had things inserted in his body and electronic probes under the skin in his forehead to try to overstimulate the nerves to cut off the pain. And none of that ever worked. And he was really going downhill with his health, and he needed replaced. And I said at the time, well, you know, COVID has really cut my ministry a lot. I'm not traveling like I had been around the U.S., the various places. I'll do it. I'll step in and handle that while I'm doing what I had been doing as CAO, because right now with COVID, I don't have a lot. And I'll keep looking for a replacement for a director of the homes. Well, after a few months, I thought, Lord, okay, I think you're having me say, you know what? I want to step off the U.S. Executive Committee, especially make room for younger people, right? And I think I should just stay here at the homes. And though the rest of the board was kind of sad about that, they agreed that that was probably the best thing to do. So I've been there for 5 years now. Some of you know by reading our prayer letters, though I stepped off the board, and the guy that replaced me for a while was only there a little more than a year and a half, had to leave, and I stepped. So instead of being on the board and helping at the homes, now I was on the homes, helping back at the board again, step back on for a year and a quarter. That's all finished as of last December. Okay? So now I'm just the director at the homes and no longer the U.S. Executive Committee. But it's been a great place to work. Now, that's the evolution of our, you know, how we got to where we're at. Okay? So I wanted to just give you that background because, like I said, we were in Papua New Guinea for 26 years, which is the country is the most ethno-linguistically diverse country in the world. Okay? So rugged. There's, you know, a lot of places where they don't, you know, well, a a lot of people, a lot of tribes fight with their neighboring tribes. That's one of the places in the world where you used to hear about cannibalism. Yeah, it was there. Right? So people used to think, oh, if I eat my enemy, then I'll gain his strength. All right? So again, a lot of really wrong beliefs there. But it's also a great country in terms of it's being open to missionaries, religious workers to go in, plant churches. But in order for us to keep one guy in or one team in a tribe, it is so much work because again, you can't like, oh, you know, my generator broke down. Well, there's nobody call around the corner because there is no corner. A lot of the places there are no roads. Missionaries live where they either had to build a small airstrip or helicopter come in because it's just so isolated. And you'll see a little bit more of that later, Lord willing. But in any event, this is where we're at now, the homes, and this is what you'd see. We are in Sanford, Florida, which is about a half hour north of Orlando. Okay? And we're about 30 miles from the ocean, so even though, yes, there are hurricanes in Florida, we get some high winds and we get, you know, some rain, but we don't really get hurricanes that go over us, so we're very grateful for that. It's always a great idea to follow Disney. He knew what he was doing, where he was going when he built that place, and he picked a good place in Central Florida. Okay, this is what you'd see as you came to our property. Come in there, and this is an aerial view. We're about 40 acres here. Okay? And the, let's see, yes. So you'd come in off the, it doesn't show up there. There's a road, and along the top, that's Celery Avenue. Then you come in, and there's a road that goes all the way around the property called Nations Boulevard. Okay? And that first, if you turn right onto Nations, then you've got the place where our staff live, and then all the rest are cul-de-sacs with duplexes placed around them. Now, before I go on, you might say, wait a minute, why do you even have that? You know, well, back in the 70s and 80s, our mission leadership was looking at our population of missionaries, those that had gone out, some in the 40s and 50s and 60s, who had been retiring with no money and nowhere to go. Because back in the early days, retirement planning was definitely not part of the missionary mindset. In fact, you know, if you went to a church in the 60s or 50s and told them that, oh, well, part of the support you're raising is to go towards your future retirement planning, that church probably even wouldn't have supported you, thinking that you weren't spiritual enough, you know, and that, you know, what, how dare you waste the Lord's money by saving it? That all changed. That whole idea has changed, and now churches are just the opposite. You better have a retirement plan, because we don't want to be responsible for you until you die. All right? You know, have something, you know, that you're saving. So that's part of it. But in the 70s and 80s, as our leadership was considering this, they're going, we have a lot of people that did go out in those early years. We started in 42, and they don't have much. They come back, and they're not sure where they're going to go. It'd be really great for us to have a retirement community for them to go to, that if they don't have much, here's a place. You know, you've devoted your life, you're giving your life to the Lord, and when your active ministry is done, you're not getting tossed to the side. You know, you've given your life, what can we help? How can we help? So this place was developed with that idea to be able to provide low-cost housing for missionaries to retire at. Now, we're going to keep going here because some of these things will be more explained as we go around, but in the lower right-hand corner, there's an RV park. You can't see all of that right now. We have 51 duplex buildings, which gives us 102 residents, and then there's staff houses and all the rest. Now, this is the front yard of a duplex, and you can see the two different entrances. We do all the maintenance. You know, the housing, the landscaping, the land, the roads. As far as the city of Sanford is concerned, we're responsible for our own roads and driveways and sidewalks and all of that. Here's a typical bedroom. Typical living room. People can furnish it however they want. As a matter of fact, they also, as they're moving in, they choose paint color, you know, for the walls and floors and all that. Small kitchen. You're not going to be preparing a meal for 40 in there, but for us, for a single or a couple, it's fine. Typical bedroom. Every duplex has a lanai out back, a covered screen porch in the back there for people to sit and relax, which is used a lot October through April. Why wouldn't it be used the rest of the year? Florida can be hot and humid. So, this time of year right now, it's beautiful down there. Okay? So if any of you want to come for a visit, October through April, that's the time to come. But I also know a lot of that's during school year, so it's difficult. Okay? And each duplex also has a carport, so your car is just not sitting there baking in the sun. Now, we have retention ponds, which you might have never seen that original picture, that I showed you from the overhead. Well, that's required by law there in Florida. You've got retention ponds, and sometimes they do get alligators in them. But if anything gets over, 5 feet or so, then you call the Wildlife Commission and they come and take it. Otherwise, they're just interested in the little fish and stuff and reptiles and things that might be in the water. They don't bother us. We don't bother them. We just stay away. Okay? But we have paths that connect not only the outside road on the outside, but then all those cul-de-sacs aim towards the center, and then we have little sidewalks that connect around the inside as well, and around the retention ponds and places. So you see a lot of people out there walking or riding bicycles. That's again another, now the same shot from the view from overhead, but you can see what I'm talking about with the ponds. Now the one that's on the far right, that's facing the east, so we call that Lake Sunrise. And then the one in the middle, which is all connected there, that's Lake Latham. Are any of you familiar with Awana? Okay, Awana, one of the founders of Awana was Doc Lance Latham. Okay, Doc Latham. But he's also instrumental at the beginning of New Tribes Mission. They started around the same time. And Awana, New Tribes, same doctrine, same philosophy, just different targets. So we've had roots and a kinship with Awana since its beginning. So we named that for him. In fact, our big center in the middle of the property, we also call the Latham Center in honor of him. And then that little thing that's, right up there, we call that Lake Almost. There's not much to it there. Right? So now all the black ones, they are 2-bedroom duplexes. The slightly shaded gray ones are 1-bedroom duplexes. The yellow ones are 3-bedroom independent or standalone single-family homes for staff. And then this area, right above where the, what you ever call that little light would be, okay? That's the RV park, and those 2 green buildings are for maintenance. Okay? Now, gonna rotate this so you can see, we're not gonna talk about this section in the middle there. All that, the light blue, the green, the lavender, and the red, it's all connected as one building, and we call that the Latham Center. Okay? So a lot of times when people move into a duplex, okay, we make it so that, okay, it looks like it's brand new, they're living in there, but if they struggle after a while, thinking, we just don't have either the energy to clean it, or we can't bend anymore to clean, we're finding it difficult to cook, or we realize we've left the stove on 3 times this week, or really difficult to do laundry. We have the blue section is for independent living. Okay? And people can move in there and they no longer have to worry about grocery shopping or cooking. We all do that. We have a dining hall for them. We have a commercial kitchen registered with the state of Florida Department of Health. Okay? We'll do laundry. We clean rooms. Okay? Which is a great, next step for people. Like, it's just difficult to live on their own anymore, so we provide that. Now, if after the independent living, they're finding that they're not managing their own medicine anymore. Like, people will call up their daughter and say, I think I've just taken my medicine for the second, maybe the 3rd time today, I don't remember. Because I didn't think I took it, but then I took it. But then I think, what was that? And people get confused and they can't handle that. That's when we have this ALF there in green for people to move into. It's, again, registered with the state of Florida, Department of Health, an assisted living facility with all of the regulations. We have a nursing office to help oversee that, where our nursing staff works to help these people. So they no longer, once they move into there, again, the room setup is almost identical. They still have the dining hall and all that. We still do their laundry, clean their rooms. Now we oversee all their medicine. They're not allowed to take it themselves anymore. We do that for them. They go to the nurse's office. Some people once a day, some people twice, depending on what their needs are. Their medicine gets handed to them in a little cup. So the nurse makes sure that they take it. Right? And then they also make the doctor's appointments for them. And when people need, it's like, you know what? They're struggling. They can't get, well, we'll drive them to the doctor's offices. And our nurse will go in with them to hear what the doctor is saying if they don't have family that can do that. So we're really seeking to help them. Now, if they need more than that, if they need only temporary help with what we call TDLs, tasks of daily living, we can help with that on a temporary basis. It's like, oh, I can't get this shirt on, or I can't button this. Usually I can, but today I'm struggling with my fingers. Fine. We'll help there. We can even help temporarily in a shower situation. But if somebody needs that continuously or permanently now, that's when they need to move into a nursing home. And we do not have that. It is a major struggle for us to just keep this place supplied with staff. It's very difficult for us to get stateside staff because just like all the rest of us in our organization, we all live off of donations. Okay? None of us are paid a salary. That's one reason why people like what was New Tribe's Mission or Ethnos 360 is that all the money that gets donated goes to the missionary. They don't take off 10, 15, or 20% for admin costs. So people really like that. But then they don't have that extra money to give towards these sorts of things. So all of our missionaries, overseas or stateside, they all have to raise their own support, which is then it's difficult on the stateside workers because a lot of churches aren't real thrilled with that. They're like, oh, that's not a real missionary. Well, we work together. And I'm going to explain to you at the end of this, some notes I've put down for myself to also share with our staff that I work with who have, you need to be able to explain to your churches how we all work together and how much this is a team and how this is even aiding in the church planning work. Okay. But, so we have the ALF there, then we have the admin sections where we have an ALF administrator separate from me, the nursing office, some other stuff, and then eventually it also then leads to the chapel. Now it was designed this way so that even if you're up there in the north wing or the west wing and you want to go to chapel, which is just Tuesday and Friday mornings from 8 to 8:30. It's like a 15-minute devotions and some announcements and some songs and then prayers. Right? It's not a church service. All of our residents, all of our staff, no, we're not going to have our own church here. You go out and join a local church. That's, we are here to support that. We're here to be a part of it. That's what we preach overseas. We're going to follow that here in the U.S. as well. So, but they want to come to chapel time. And for some of the people that live in the Latham Center there, they may not see a lot of people outside of the Latham Center unless they come to chapel. Some of them don't walk very well anymore. So, but if they can come all the way through that complex and never have to go outside, there's carpet, so they're with their walker, they're fine, and they can get there and get back again. Okay. Now, that is the outside of our chapel. That was the last section of the building that was built. Okay. And there's a covered area there so people can drive up and let somebody out even in the rain. They can go inside and they're fine. And we have, besides our chapel services, which are Tuesday and Friday mornings, and we have a Tuesday night service, we also have memorials in there. We have weddings in there. We have lots of things that go on in there. Now, right outside of the ALF, we have a lounge area. So because when people live in the ALF, that room is like their world. They have their own bedroom in there. They have their furniture. They have their own separate bathroom. But then we provide this lounge area. You see there's one on the far side and then closer to us here where they can meet with family or just sit down and relax or gather with other people. And the one on the left here, you can't see it, but the wall that's hidden, and also has a piano there, and they have a little meeting in there every Thursday afternoon, coming out and they sing songs and they talk about things, and they clap if somebody, and sing if somebody had a birthday. You know. A typical room there in the Latham Center. See a couple recliners, bed, desk, TV, and there'll be also a dresser and a walk-in closet, and then a full bathroom. Now this is one of our volunteers. She's not a staff member, she's a volunteer, and she and her husband are from Maine. And they moved down to Florida, and she was like, okay, how can I be involved in the Lord's work? What can I do? And apparently she's told us, she's gone to several places, and they all said, nah. One of our missionaries was at a church right near New Smyrna Beach or Daytona Beach, was speaking there, and she heard about us, and we're like, oh, that sounds just what I'm looking for, a way to be able to serve. And so she comes in on Wednesdays and works for the whole day, cleaning rooms. She is such a blessing. Yes, she's cleaning rooms and doing laundry and cleaning bathrooms. But I'll tell you, the people that live in the rooms, because we try to keep the cleaners with the rooms consistent from week after week after week. So the people that live there, they get to know her. They look forward to Lee coming, and they talk with her. And we depend upon, especially our housekeepers, to also tell us, how are they doing? Are they deteriorating at all? How's their memory? How's their coordination, their balance? Because they're going to see them in a more natural environment. We'll see them in the hallways, or we'll see them in the dining room where they're on the best behavior, So here it's a little more relaxed, and our housekeepers, they really connect with our residents. They listen to their stories. Well, not only listening to their stories, but the residents started asking Lee, this picture was taken during COVID, obviously, tell us about you. What's your story? So she started talking about her and her husband, and well, he didn't go to church. Yeah, he was a believer, but never had grown much in the Lord, and so on and so forth. And she was really concerned. So our folks started praying for him. Wasn't too long before Lee's husband started going to church, and he's got a more consistent, stable walk with the Lord, and he's very supportive of what she's doing there. It's like, hey, great, thank you, Lord, because he wants to use us wherever we're at in the world. But we really, really appreciate Lee. And actually, if you go onto our website, not the one for Ethnos 360, but the one just for the homes, we have a little video there that we made just about her, telling her story, because we're so appreciative of her. But you see, we need volunteers to come and do that, because, again, our staff is so small because we have trouble getting the staff. One of the things I do a lot is recruiting. That's one of my big jobs as the director there, trying to find new staff and new people. And we had a couple that came in sometime last year, still with the mission. They're no longer overseas. They were looking for a stateside ministry. And when I started talking about what was available and talked about the maintenance opportunities that he might be able to be involved in, or this or that, and then I mentioned housekeeping, and her eyes lit up. Hope is like, housekeeping, cleaning? I love that. It's like, whoa, it's like, wow, I just thought, yes, Lord, thank you for answering my prayers. This is great. She was so excited about it. She said, oh, that's what I love to do. It's how I like to serve. And so they were very excited, and then went back to their church, and the church said, absolutely no way. We're not paying you to do that. That's not real missionary work. Well, we think of ourselves as a team, but the church said no, and so they moved on. And one of our co-directors of our kitchen, she's tried to retire 3 times. She's kept putting it off because we can't get a replacement for her. And our head of housekeeping, she is going part-time after December. She's going in. She just had her 2nd knee replacement surgery. And I can't find someone to replace her. So as much as possible, we also try to recruit volunteers from the local area, from local churches. The thing is, so many churches, I don't know exactly how you function here, but a lot of churches are very denominationally tied. And especially in our area, almost every church you find around you, they're all part of a particular denomination that, has Baptistic roots and is in the South. I guess that wasn't a joke here, so I'll move on quickly here. But they're really tied into that. And we're a non-denominational mission. Okay? we were fundamental, evangelical, going out there, brought people in from various backgrounds as long as, hey, we've got the same ideals, the same theology, let's go do this work together, but we're not tied to a specific denomination. So a lot of the people in the area is like, well, they're looking for something denominational. But we've got a few that want to come in and volunteer and just say, they feel it's a privilege and honor to come and help us, and we are so grateful for them. So moving on, here are two of our ladies waiting to go to lunch. They're in the recliners. That's in a big lounge area outside the dining hall. So there's one lounge outside the ALF, another lounge at that intersection of the light blue. Okay? And this is where they're at. Bonnie, who you see there in the upper right. Yeah. Last January, she celebrated her 100th birthday. Okay? And she gets up, she dresses herself, she comes to meetings, she comes to chapel, Now we have a special hearing, apparatus for people in chapel who have trouble hearing, so they can put it on, it's amplified, they hear it directly. So if the batteries aren't working, you'll be sitting in chapel here, doesn't work. Bonnie, we'll get you, we'll help you, we'll change the batteries, But again, she and her husband are in the mission, then their kids are in the mission, some of their grandchildren in the mission. So we're glad to be able to serve her and everyone else. And this is a breakfast meal, and that's up there coming right down. That's one of our co-directors of the kitchen who's retiring in April. But not everyone's required to go to all the meals. They have to, we want them to go to at least 2 meals, their choice. They can go to all 3. Breakfast and lunch, lunch and supper, breakfast, lunch and supper, or however they want, but everyone's required to come to the main meal at lunch. So we know what they're getting. The menus are all been approved by a professional dietitian, again, under state of Florida, so we know what's going on here. And you can't see it, but there's a couple of cards on that table. If you see that plate, which looks like it's got toast on it near the front, right behind it, it looks like a pink card that's set up. Well, there's a card for each person with their name on it, and it says, do they like coffee? Do they like tea? Do they like sugar? Do they like a substitute for it? Do they, what about salt and pepper? What are the various things? Oh, they don't have dessert, but they have this. Oh, they can have a sugar-free cookie, but they can't have it, So again, we try to personalize it for our residents, so they've got what they need here. Okay? We have, like I said, we've got that commercial kitchen in the back, and one of my favorite kitchen helpers, that's my wife there. She has a full-time job working with the headquarters. Since when we came back in 2011, she joined what was called the Connection Center. And the Connection Center seeks to match people who are interested in serving in some way. Do I want to be a full-time career missionary? What about short-term missions? What about volunteer work? What about this? What about training? She'll work with them for a while, get them in the database, and help them to figure out what it is they're really looking for. Because sometimes people aren't sure, and then gets them to the right person who will work with them for an application for career or short-term trips or whatever is necessary. Well, she does that. She can do her work remotely. So when I was upstairs in the headquarters building as CAO, I put another desk in my office, and we were there together. And then when I moved to the homes, I put another desk in my office, and she does remote work from there. Come to think of it, when we were in the field, when I was principal, she was school secretary. When I was the field chair, the field administrator, she was a field secretary. We've been together a lot for a long time. And not just as married people, but we're always together. Here are a couple of our elderly folks that are in their 80s, a couple here, and working on some puzzles and things. We have a beauty parlor that's part of that admin section outside of the ALF, because it's really nice for our elderly ladies who are feeling a bit down. They come in, and one of our volunteers comes in to do their hair, and they walk out, and I'll see them in the hall and go, oh, your hair looks so nice today, and they just get a big smile on their face and go, oh yes, thank you, it's so nice. So it's nice to be able to have that for them to lift their spirits. Right? We have an exercise room. We have an exercise class daily. This is one side of our RV court, and then that's just across the street from it. We set this up a number of years ago. In fact, Our whole property was built not only with New Tribes missionaries, but with volunteers. And ever since then, we've had volunteers who come down every winter. You think of them as snowbirds because they each come down in their RV. We call them royal volunteers, RVers. And they come down. Some come down for just a couple weeks. Some come down for a month or two. We've had some people there for 4 or 5 months. And while they're there, there's no charge, and we have a full sewer hookup, water hookup, electrical hookup, all they need. Plus, one of our maintenance buildings, we built a clubhouse on the end for extra laundry facilities and extra showers and bathrooms. And just in case they happen to be one of those RVs that's kind of on the small side and they like a little more room. But we really, really depend on our volunteers because, like I said, our staff is sort of small. So during the year, all we can do is maintain. Oh, this pipe burst, let's go fix it, Got to cut the grass, Not only every week in Florida, but during the summer, twice a week, There's a lot to get done. Well, the volunteers come down during the winter, and they help us get a lot done. For example, there's 2 different staff people there, and the other 4 that are there in that picture are volunteers. We were having to repave an entire road section. Right? And they come help with that. We'll also have to redo driveways and sidewalks, especially with some of the trees that were planted 25 and 30 years ago. Well, now their root systems are pushing up driveways and sidewalks, and those have got to get redone. While they're doing that, some of the ladies are helping to clean houses or clean inside or outside or do a deep cleaning that maybe, well, yeah, I've lived in my duplex for 12 years, and I vacuum every day, but I've not done a deep cleaning in a long, long time. So our volunteers help with that. And then some volunteers, also some ladies, are help with sewing. Others help a little bit in the kitchen. Some of our men, they don't all work with concrete. We have some people that use their skills in landscaping or electrical work or plumbing or various things that we've got going on. These 2 volunteers are putting in brand new cabinets into a duplex. Now, when someone moves out of a duplex they've been in, okay, and we've got a new missionary moving in, we figured for a lot of them, this may be the last house they'll ever live in. So we want it to be nice. So we refurbish that house so it looks brand new for them when they come. So they get, tell them about their cabinets, they get to pick, the choice of cabinet or color, what color they want the refrigerator, what color they want the walls to be repainted. We redo the floors. We check if the plumbing's still in good shape or does it need to be fixed in any way, the electrical, everything. So by the time they move in, it looks new. And for a lot of our folks, this is the first and only new thing they've ever owned new in their life. So we think this is an important thing to do. Now, there is a move-in fee that missionaries come in. So to move into a duplex, which you are then allowed to live in for the rest of your life if you wish, like for this coming year, it'll be a $19,000 move-in fee. And we use about half of that, a little more, to refurbish the actual house we're moving into. Excuse me. And the rest of it is like long-term maintenance because we also have to replace like the roof on the Latham Center and things like that on a regular basis. And air conditioning is something we're always working with in Florida. Okay? But these 2 guys are volunteers and putting in new cabinets. Okay? And this is just a picture of our staff and our residents one particular year. Get outside, just say, hey, here we are. This is our group. This is our family. Okay? Now, that is our website. And in the middle column, the last one on the bottom, that's the story I told you about Lee, our volunteer that comes there on Wednesdays. But, we have opportunity. You want to come down? We've got space. We've got work for you. Okay? Now, we don't usually have extra housing. We're filled all the time. Usually, most of the time, we're filled. So if you want to come down for a period of time, it's much easier if you have an RV. And again, we can schedule you in there. We also have reduced rates at the Comfort Inn, which is just a couple miles away. So if you come down, you say Ethnos 360, the price gets cut. And if you're actually coming to Ethnos 360, some capacity of the headquarters or the homes or something, then we also subsidize the cost. So you're the 115, 120 that Comfort Inn would drop it down to 90, and then we would subsidize another 50. So it would only be $40 a night for you. So that is us. Now, okay, so have some time here, good. Not going over. Now, again, like I said, a lot of our staff struggle with how to explain this to their churches, that this is a real ministry. It's a vital ministry, and it's part of the team. So I put this together to try to help them just understand, okay, how do we fit into this worldwide church planning effort? How are we supporting those people that are actually in the tribes? Well, first, we enable second and third generation missionaries to remain on the field longer because former missionaries, that is, their parents and or grandparents, are cared for. We've had several folks come to us and say, I've not yet finished my tribal work. I'm still working on my translation. I've got another 5 or 6 years in the tribe. Thank you so much that mom and dad had a place to come to, and I didn't need to leave the field to help care for mom and dad. Hey, we're a team. We're working together. We try to help when our new parents go out in the field. Okay, here's a lot of training about education and educating your children and homeschooling, and we're going to provide homeschooling coordinators when you're on the field to help you when you're struggling. Oh, and we also provide language consultants on the field, and literacy consultants, and translation consultants. New Tribes Mission is a big organization because we do all of it together. We teach the people how to read and write in their own language. Well, first we create a written language for most of them because it's not written. You have to take an oral language and learn it without a dictionary, all right, and put it down, create an alphabet, create the whole thing. Then we teach them literacy, how to read and write in their own language, and that's very, very important. Because when we leave, we want to also be able to leave with a fully completed New Testament that they can read for themselves. We've ordained elders, and they can teach each other, and they can teach the people, because we want that church to be self-supporting, self-functioning, self-perpetuating, all of that, like a regular New Testament church. So we're working together. It's like because we're there, others have been able to stay on the field longer. Secondly, the home fulfills the biblical mandate first set by the household of Stephanus for believers to minister to the saints, particularly by showing hospitality, by providing for their needs, and by attending and aiding God's messengers. That's not somebody you talk about a lot, Stephanus or Stephanus, whatever. But Paul mentions him. It's like, he's been doing a great job there, and it's like, what? It's a model that many have taken after. Third, we provide an additional retirement option so that low-supported missionaries don't need to quit the ministry to find a higher paying job in order to save up sufficient funds for retirement. You say, what, really? Well, one of our co-workers at the headquarters when I was there was working in the connection center for a while, but with an IT background. It's a bunch of IT skills. And he was thinking, we're doing okay, but I'm going to need a lot more for retirement. So he quit because he could get a high-paying job as an IT specialist. Most IT people can get a real nice paying job. It's like, oh, boy, we really needed him. We're struggling. Well, now because we can hardly get any IT people there because they can get such nice jobs elsewhere, we're having to hire secular IT people or Christian ones when we can find them to come on in. But now instead of them living on $60,000 or $70,000 a year as their missionary support, we're having to pay them $110,000, $120,000 a year because that's the salary they demand in order to work. It's like, it would work so much better if churches would understand this IT guy really helps us and actually saves money in the long run, as we work together as a team. So actually that he was a friend of mine, but he left, and I was like, well, no, I want a higher paying job. Sorry, bye. Fourth, the home fulfills the biblical mandate for believers to care for widows. And if you've ever read the New Testament, you'll see that in lots of places there. Old Testament as well, by the way. Okay. Fifth, we advance the kingdom through prayer for missionaries and indigenous believers around the world. We have our prayer room. We have our prayer letters that we get from around the world. We have monthly prayer meetings. We have various different groups have meetings in their homes in prayer for what's going on around the world. And not just for the missionaries, for the indigenous works as well, and believers there. Six, The home supports missionaries in the field by providing additional workers. Our retirees for the home office and the following departments. See, just like we struggle to get enough staff, our headquarters, which is just 2 miles down the road, we call it the home office, they struggle to get enough workers too. It's like, oh man, they need more people to, process these EFTs or these checks that come in, or we need more people in IT, or, some churches have written and said, we want some magazines about this, we want handouts about this, and this and that. It's got to be put together, it's got to be sent out. We've got all these different departments at work. So, some of our retirees, a few hours each day, a few hours each week, go over and help work in the finance office. They do that, so another full-time career staff person doesn't have to come on staff to do that. We have those that work in the International Ministries office. We have retirees working actually in home office maintenance, like I said, 2 miles down the road. Some that are in our biblical resources group because of their expertise, training, what they've got. These guys are very theologically based. They try to tackle new issues or issues that this is surfacing in the Christian church in America. Or, the church in Germany and the Netherlands is not approaching this in the same way that the Latin American churches are. Okay, how can we work with this? What the scripture has to say about this. What's the minimum we need to have here to be biblical in this? So these guys function with that and also updating policies for us. We have retired missionaries that are still working on translating scriptures, but they're doing it here from this country. We have those that are formatting scriptures for printing. Most printers in this country do not know how to format for a tribal language. It's, sort of a niche little area. And so, but our people, especially those that are working with it, it's like, okay, no, it doesn't go this way, it goes that way. Well, does it make a difference? Well, yeah. If you spoke the language, you knew it made a difference. Okay? We have those that work in shipping, receiving, or producing materials. And we also have, because we've been around a long time, we can offer advice and perspective from seasoned, experienced missionaries. So again, just because someone's retired down there, almost all of our retirees continue to help in some way. We're helping in this way. So again, because we don't have to have that as many staff people, so we can keep as many on the field as we can, but we all work together. Now, a little later, because we still have time, we're going to see something about on the field as well. Okay? But 7, occasionally the homes provide skills training for new missionaries on their way to the field so they can be greater help on the field. What? Well, we have a guy who finished the training with Ethnos 360 out in Camden, Missouri, and wrote to the leadership in Papua New Guinea, actually, saying that he wanted to come out there and be part of their maintenance team to help that keep functioning. And they looked at what he had and what his skills were and thought, yeah, you've got some of what we need, but you're deficient in these 2 or 3 areas. Get more training and then come. Well, if somebody's just spent a couple years in Bible school and then 2 years in training in Missouri to be a missionary, so they've been 4 years out of the workforce, it's kind of tough. They're like, oh, now I've got to go get more training someplace else. Well, instead, he approached us, said he needed some more additional help in like electrical and some plumbing and some stuff. He says, you know what? We've got guys on our staff that do that, but we need help. So he's joined our staff for 2 to 3 years. He's helping us do what we need to do, and at the same time, he's learning from experienced people in those areas in which he was deficient so that he can be a greater help on the field. It's great when these things work together like this. And 8th, when space is available, the homes offer a rest stop or way station for those missionaries who need respite or restoration or healing after returning from the field. And I'm sure you've all heard about or seen some missionaries come back from the field and they're done in. They might have come through a very especially difficult spiritual time. They might have had some emotional or marriage struggles with the kids. Tribal work may have just exhausted them. And they kept pushing and pushing and pushing themselves, maybe beyond what they should have, and now they're burned out. So there's times like, you know what? We've got space. Come here. Let us help you with this. Okay? So we work together. Well, I'd also like to show you a little video right now and those guys will get it ready back there, called It Takes a Team. And again, you don't expect the pastor to be preaching at the same time that he's vacuuming and washing the windows and cutting the grass and teaching every Sunday school class and all adult classes and marriage classes and counseling all at the same time. You know, the church functions as a body. You work together. Well, we do too, all right? And I'd like to show this little thing here. Now, if you go ahead and click that two-sided arrow towards the right, it'll do the whole thing, and then right. And then when you click that, you can go ahead and start. This is how a lot of missionaries used to have to get to their tribe, by days worth of river travel.
Before you may be in stop, maybe been stop osem long man. How maybe been stop ose kalabus. Maybe stop kalabus. Maybe no open mind na maybe lukim a road dogo. Maybe been kaosem. I pass I control him I pass. This lagan all system maybe been stop because Gori saring tubla money come inside. Gori saring ma quantum brain come inside lo mariama. Tubla being carried talk through come inside. Then tubla carrying talk through come inside. This plat talk through. He bring him you me long light.
Yeah, over the years, it's been easy to see the teamwork that is needed to keep the church plants going out in the jungle. We need schools, we need supply buyers, we need all these people, airplane pilots, airplane mechanics. We need all these people to keep us in the jungle, including way back to the local church in the U.S. We have to have a team. Cannot do it without a team out here.
That's one of the things I've really enjoyed about being here, is realizing that we're a part of the process of bringing the Bible to people who have never heard the gospel. One of the, I think, biggest blessings we were able to have this past year was getting to visit a Bible dedication for the Baguito people and getting to see them receive the first copy of a New Testament in their own language, and the excitement that they had there. That was really neat. We have a chance to educate the children of people from various different ministries, from whether they're directly out in the bush themselves, or they might be children of the pilots or NTMA personnel, that might be children of the medical personnel or those who are working with computers. And so we have that opportunity for ministry, but it's been nice to be able to go out and actually visit the tribes directly.
Oftentimes when we pray, we thank God. We're like, God, thank you for the opportunity to teach in such a wonderful place and really be a lifelong impact, like the Word of God, like going out, that's going to last forever. It's not something, what else could you spend your life doing where you know it's going to last, you know?
That's the school where I used to be the principal of.
This coming year in the high school, we're looking at needing a core high school English teacher, a core high school science teacher, upper level math teacher.
Next year, we need teachers for kindergarten, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. Those teachers are all going to be going on a year of home assignment, and at this point we don't have anyone to cover for those classes. So in the worst case scenario, we might have to close those classes. This year we actually don't have a 6th grade class since we didn't have enough teachers. But we really trust the Lord to send enough people to come and teach at Numenoy Christian Academy.
Mike, still on? Okay, good. The first guy that talked there, Mark, he actually came to our school and taught as an associate missionary, and his wife was one of our students that I taught and Susan taught in school. Okay? So it's interesting. He's like, oh, not only did we see our students come back, we saw their kids start coming back too. It's like, okay, I guess we have gotten a bit older, you know, seeing these generations come back, and or somebody that you taught as a kid, oh, now they come back as your coworker. That's really interesting. Now, in case you're wondering, what's it? You're talking about New Tribes Mission, Ethnos 360. In 2006, New Tribes Mission basically divided into its component parts. So each of the entities were on their own. So the USA, Canada, UK, Germany, Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, over in the Pacific, in Africa, each one became independent. But we all worked together following this global ministries agreement. But then at the same time, over the years, some of them have been changed their name. So it didn't work to call ourselves New Tribes Mission International. And in fact, here in the USA, some of our missionaries are also struggling to get the visas they needed into certain countries. Okay? Not every country is as open as Papua New Guinea is. And so can you imagine you're all ready to go to a country and it's not completely closed, but they're not particularly friendly towards Christians and Christian missionaries. And you apply and every time you apply for visa, you have to say who your employer is. If your employer is New Tribes Mission, well, I think you've just decreased your chances of some mid-level bureaucrat who might not be so in favor. It's like, denied. Okay? So that, you know what? For the sake of a name, even though we all loved our name, for the sake of a name and potentially not getting the gospel to some place where it needs to go, let's change the name. And some people struggled with that, because they'd grown up with that name for so long. But, a rose by any other name would smell sweet. Even Shakespeare said that. So let's go ahead and change it. And the name we picked, Ethnos, it's from, you'll find that in Matthew and the Great Commission, where the gospel needs to go to every tribe, tongue, language, and nation. Okay, that's the word ethnos or ethne, the plural, for nations. Okay, we thought, well, let's see, we want to get to all the nations around the world. We don't, why use the English? Let's use the Greek, and 360 with the idea of the whole world, around. So that's what we use. Now, some countries, like Papua New Guinea, they still call themselves New Tribes Mission Papua New Guinea. Okay? Other ones have taken other names. Some others, like Germany, no, they like that Ethnos name. So they're Ethnos 360. Germany, Canada, they didn't want the 360, they're just Ethnos in Canada. So it varies around. And then some have names like the ones in Africa, Integrated Vision, but in French, and I can't pronounce it. So that's where all the difference in the naming come from. But we've been Ethnos 360, and by the way, there's no space between the Ethnos and the 360, it's one word. We've been Ethnos 360 now since 2017. So in the last, I was going to say the last 2 minutes, but according to that, there's no last 2 minutes. If you have any questions about anything, anybody have a question they're dying to ask that they know everybody else would want to know the answer to? Yes? Well, like I said, we were in Papua New Guinea for 26 years. So that little video, that last one I just showed, that was put together by folks still in Papua New Guinea about their work. So no, we weren't not there. That was the country we were in for many years. But Susan and I, myself, we are in Florida overseeing the retirement homes. Oh, the pictures we showed of Florida is where we're at. Yes.
And my next question is, so from what I'm understanding, you help missionary families, because a question I was going to ask is like your goal and aim of this ministry, and how is it like discipling and with converts that come in?
Well, that's more of what happens on the field, right? But we have our Bible school is where most of our missionaries start their training. It's not just an academic program. It's a very integrated program. All the students there also get advisors and mentors that they work through the 2 years there. Then when they go to our Missionary Training Institute in Camden, Missouri, again, as individuals and as couples, they work with mentors there, besides all the classes that they're taking. So we have that. Missionaries on the field, we have consultants, and they help each other. In the tribes, as they're church planning, they're also going to be one of the biggest jobs of a missionary after he has believers is discipling those believers, meeting with them, teaching them, which is one of the reasons why our language program, or when missionaries first go in, it could take them anywhere from 3 to 5 years, 3 is really fast, to not only learn the language, but the culture. Because if you don't learn the culture, you don't know the language. Computers can't do that. Our folks go out there and, so how do you chop down this tree and turn it into taro to eat? How do you go fishing? Let's go on a pig hunt at night with you. Ladies, in their house. How do you cook this? How do you do that? You live life with people, day by day. And during that, you are also discipling. So, do we have a formal discipleship process with a curriculum? No. But we have life on life with people.
And then once these believers, they go through teaching the epistles and more parts of the Bible, so they can learn how the church body works and how to grow and walk in your own faith.
Oh yeah, we don't specifically teach on, child rearing or marriage principles, but we teach her the scriptures, and they're going to touch on all of that. And instead of telling people you shouldn't take a second wife, as they learn through the scriptures, they're like, we've had tribal people come to our mission and say, it's about time for me to take a second wife here, but I'm wondering, that might not be a good idea, is it? More I'm reading about scriptures, it's seeming like that could be a problem. Let's talk about it now. You give time for the Holy Spirit to teach people, to bring things to their thoughts and their remembrance, and let's talk about it when the time is right instead of forcing it on. But again, that's life on life with people. Yes?
Yeah, I had 2 questions. One had to do with the homes ministry.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is, because of the age of the people, and when you mentioned medication, the health care, how does that work? Are they receiving Medicare or?
Well, in order to live in the homes, one of our requirements is you have to have health coverage. So for most people that are over 65, that means they have Medicare. And we no longer have any missionaries that had opted out of Social Security. That was an option back in the long time ago. When Susan and I came in the mid-'80s, it was an option, but they were advising all of us not to opt out, so we didn't. So all the missionaries we have now, they're all on Social Security, and they all have Medicare. And they go to see doctors. We don't provide doctors, but we'll take people to doctor's appointments. And if they're in the assisted living facility, then we also manage their medication for them under a doctor's prescription or orders.
Yeah, and my other question having to do with Ethnos is that I can't help, I just, thinking about when Jesus fed the 5,000, when he fed the 3,000, but yet
in at the time when the disciples gathered together, um, 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 waiting for the Holy Spirit. What was it, 250 or 250 people were gathered in the room. What I'm trying to say is that because I worked for the state, I worked in the prison system, is that I always found that you'll get a whole lot of people that will come in this idea in the name of Christ, but it's because they're getting something.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is it was called several decades ago, especially in China, rice Christians. People who would come to the teaching because they were handing out rice or other things, right? And you can do that in any country of the world. You hand out things and people will come. We've heard of preachers who have been to various rallies and ministries, and the way they talk and what they promise, and they can get, 20, 30,000 people all raise their hand, and they report back to America, we had 30,000 people saved tonight. It's like, well, I'll ask you how many of them show up, a week later, after they've gotten what they wanted. So we do seek to meet needs. For example, when our people move into tribes, they also have gotten some medical training, which a lot of the people don't have access to. So yes, they will bind wounds, they will treat infections, they will sometimes set bones. When people are in a machete fight with each other, there's a lot of stuff they have to do. And sometimes they arrange for planes to come in and take people out, to save their life. Even if they can't afford it, the mission will pay for it. So we'll do that, and that's one way to also make people open to hearing this message, because you've shown that you've cared about them. But we don't set up little American churches. We want the people, when we're gone, to be self-sustaining. So, they still grow their gardens. And we don't build churches with American supplies. They build their churches or church buildings, if they're going to have them, with the supplies that they would normally use where they're at in the jungle. So, you have to be careful there. You want to meet needs, but you also don't want to create a dependency. So I understand what you're talking about, but it's a difficult balance at times. Yeah, okay, if you have other questions for me, I'll be back there with you during the break time, and then or afterwards, please come and see me. Let me pray. Lord, again, we thank you for who you are. We thank you for what you provided. Lord, we thank you first and foremost for our own salvation, for you reaching out to us, for giving us the faith to believe, right, and all that Jesus has done for us. Lord, we just pray that you continue to guide and bless this day now. Lord, the fellowship time, the preaching of your word, and the luncheon afterwards. Lord, we praise you. We just lift up you in Jesus' name. Amen.